Welcome everyone to the first of two conversations today that will give you an insight into the world of audio streaming. And I don't think you can have anybody better than Amar right here. And it's very appropriate we're chatting today because today happens to be Spotify's 5th anniversary in India. So happy anniversary.
Thank you, thank you. And I think we have to get the crowd, this place full. Huh? A lot of people still have to come to audio streaming.
Yeah, is like Anil Kapoor still talking right now? Because I believe he's here.
We should get him back as a brand ambassador for us. We started off with that in India. Yeah.
Should be here right now. But anyway, speaking of things to celebrate, this has been this is a really good time for audio streaming in India. I mean, if you recently, data insights company Illuminate released their 2023 year-end report, according to which the total number of audio and video streams in India was over 1 trillion. Now, this was second only to the US, which had 1.4 trillion, so that's amazing. And when it came to growth, India was number one. They did some calculation, they found out that the net new streams was some 400 and something billion last year. So that's obviously, people are listening to music more than ever before here. So 5 years down the line, I want to ask you, has audio streaming or streaming in general become mainstream in India?
Yeah, no, first of all, I think the data that you're talking about, I think is a pretty cool one. And I think for everybody here, I think Amit knows more about music than me. I think he's been...
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm quite sure.
About the charts.
You've been in the industry for long enough. I took over 6 years back. I think we just finished 5 years, so I think it can't have been a better journey for us here. I think when we came in, the overall, we used to talk about on audio streaming, but I think there were basic fundamentals we saw that were not in place. There were no habits of streaming. There were, no clear playlist thought process out there. Even if it was there, it was broken. Artist engagement to a level, focus on independent music. The many things which I think we have to actually do grounds up from here. So I think a 5-year journey for us has been that we believe that I think Indians love music. It's a very strong part of our cultural heritage, I think. I think the journey of people listening to music on audio, I think started off literally the time in a big way when we entered, because I think we brought a great product to the country. Spotify today is in 184 markets. 600 million people use Spotify around the world. When we came in India, we were 79th market. So in a way, I mean, we came in 5 years back, but we were 16 years overall now in the world. So there is some kind of a product advantage we had, which we brought to the game. But I think the more important part is that the growth of streaming in this last 5-6 years have been fabulous, and I think is encouraging, and it's continuing to grow like that.
Yeah. So I mean, coming back to Spotify, 5 years, I believe you are one of, if not the market leader right now. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So how did you get here in 5 years? I mean, if you also want to talk about the evolution of Spotify over the years in India, and also concurrently with basically the mobile, and internet industries. I mean, we've seen a trajectory, a very strong growth trajectory for everything, and it's all connected, right? I mean, they're all sort of related to each other. So if you were to, go back to, say, 2019 when you entered the market, and today, what are all the things that have changed?
No, first of all, I think for us, whoever loves music, we love them. And I think what has changed over the last 5 years for us, I think, is that in different aspects I can take you through. So I think let's talk about people listening to music. I think the biggest fundamental change that we have seen is, and I think you probably must have said it many years back, I think people in India were video first in their thought process with Bollywood and so on and film music. I think over the last few years, there's been a strong transition to audio first. And people now prefer art. I mean, look at both sides of the platform. I think the listeners are preferring to listen audio because people are building stuff in this country. People are moving. They want to be on the go, and audio is actually the best way to kind of do that. And that's what globally it is. The second part on the artist side of it is that artists used to release music sometime, and video used to be the first component in mind because that's where films used to get released. But today, especially after the pandemic and so on, I think there's a huge shift happened, where people now release music, and they are not really, and they're releasing extremely fast now. I think you will be seeing artists getting topping the charts or topping, the playlist every week now, because somebody new is coming and changing the game. So the audio first process, this is what we changed, because there was a whole process about how a song is submitted and how it is, being shown to the listeners through playlisting and other recommendations. That Spotify truly revolutionized and changed in this country. The listening habits have similarly changed, because people were listening on sometimes on the mobile, sometimes on some other places. Today, I think with Spotify having partnership with so many things, so many devices, people sometimes are listening to Spotify on TV, sometimes they're listening on a speaker, they go into a car, they're listening on a car speaker, they are listening on the mobile. So there are so many devices. People are playing games and listening to Spotify. Yeah. So I think that fundamental shift of ubiquity which Spotify brought in has actually changed a lot also. And outside of that, I think the bigger shift that I believe we are very proud of, I think, and we are still on that journey in a big way, is that this was not a market for artists first. It was a market for playback singing. Mm-hmm. Till today, people talk about, oh, this song was sung by Rajesh Khanna or maybe Shah Rukh Khan or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the songs are actually sung by artists. I think which is the fundamental uniqueness of this market compared to anywhere in the world. That we don't want to change anything. We want to make sure that film industry also thrives. But we want to make sure that India will never have a million artists if we have a small funnel of this thing. So for us, the larger funnel of people who are creating music, that has dramatically changed. And that has been instrumental from our side in building that artist programs like Radar India, which is our flagship playlist for upcoming artists. We have Fresh Finds, where we discover new artists out there and bring them up. And some of these artists are now going through these programs and they are coming out as the biggest stars in the country. We are extremely proud of that, but also optimistic that over the next 2, 3, 4 years, this shift is going to be exciting. The way the country is changing, the way we are building businesses and entrepreneurs and businesses out there. I think becoming an artist is also business. They are an entrepreneur. Yeah. So we are the place where those artists as an entrepreneur are coming to build their business. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll touch about that in a bit, but I also want to ask you, when you enter the market, I mean, let's acknowledge the space we are in people, what they call the geo-revolution, which happened, in 2016, and the fall in data costs, and and it generally uplifted the entire media and entertainment sector in terms of consumption. But also for you, when you entered in 2019, I remember, and we've had chats about this before, you were completely dealing with a completely unique market, right? Not one that was similar to the 78 markets that you'd already been in before, and you had to make some adjustments. I mean, so what are some of the things that Spotify had to do and build from scratch? I know one of the things you did was have these mini premium plans, because we're a notoriously price sensitive market. You had daily plans for 7 rupees and things like that. So what are some of the things that you had to keep into consideration? Credit card penetration is not that high, all those kind of things. Take us through some of those.
No, I think we have to work on every aspect of localization, you would say. I think because this market, I remember this meeting Daniel Ek, I think 2018, just before I had joined actually. And I remember, I think, he told me only one thing. He says that we really feel India is a great market for the future, and we want to be there for the long term. And I think we should build this market for long term and not think of short term things. And you tell us how we want to, build this market. I think from that time to now, I think if you look at every aspect of our business, we've localized. If you look at the product, our product is localized. I think, globally we have any country in the world normally has one language or two language. We have 22 languages. So people are looking for content, different languages. There's a meta tagging, there's a search, there's playlisting out there. So from a product perspective, from a UI to actual kind of a content in the platform, we had to get all that content, but we have to curate all that content. And I think we have 600 playlists that we have today, which our editors have made locally. Out of that, about 25, 30 playlists are flagship playlists, which are really the core playlists in that market. So these are all happened in the last few years. On the other side of it, there was no program which we had for artists as such. So we had to launch basic education to artists on what they can do on our platform. So that programs were localized. I think we used to do physical events, we done virtual events, we done everything out there. And then, also getting them to kind of join some of these programs, which we typically do, sometimes do an event, but mostly it is virtual. And then on the other side of it, we have gone ahead to localize.
Was it sort of educational, those kind of things?
Yeah, so the master classes that we do, I think are very exciting. I think we do it across the country. We have done physical events, we do virtual events. Generally, I think at any given point of time, 100 to 300 artists participates on that. We tell them how they can kind of become successful on Spotify, how they can leverage or get to know the Spotify data to kind of know about their customers and create music. How can they actually collaborate with other artists? How they can kind of go out there and do their own physical events, looking at the data from Spotify or where the artists are residing. So multiple stuff around that piece. Then we kind of went down to do stuff around communication because people knew Spotify here. But I think, today, luckily everybody, a lot of you know Spotify, I think you're using it. But when I remember 6 years back when I told people I'm joining Spotify, few people thought it's a sports company.
Yeah, Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify. Some people said, so in a way, not everybody knew Spotify. So we had to create that awareness. And I think we have localized our communications. I think, in fact, Anil Kapoor was speaking here. He was one of the person who was part of our ad campaigns and so on. But we also localized in different regions of the country. We went into different languages. So we did localized marketing in many of these places. Yeah.
So you had somebody else also in the south, right? Was it Nagarjun?
Yeah, Nagarjun was there. We work with, we've used some of the stars, but a lot of our advertising has been generally with great actors and not necessarily, stars or somebody. Because our communications have always been emotional, telling them, about the larger piece about how music changed their lives. People, how music is a grease of, making your lives better. So that's why I think generally we have been doing a lot of that. And now I think if you look at the side of revenue side of it, where I think we have people pay for music, there we have brought things like Premium Mini, which is a 1 day or a 7-day package of 7 rupees or 25 rupees. But we have plans which are, different plans for the country.
So these were not there anywhere else in the world?
Premium Mini was not there anywhere in the world. It came in this part of the emerging market, especially India being a key market. And then we also have things like UPI payments and so on, which was not new to unique to India. And a lot of our, listeners, 70% of our people, I think, pay via UPI today. So in a way,
70%, wow.
Almost 70%, I think, people pay. So I think that's the kind of stuff that we've seen, localization. But this is just a few of them. We've gone quite deep into creating genres. For example, there was nothing for hip-hop today. People, as music is never been categorized in this country. People club music into one way. If you ask people, what do you listen to? He says, I listen to love songs or sad songs.
Yeah, the classic Indian genres, there are only 3 genres: happy love, sad love, and party. Absolutely. Everybody should know that.
So that's what people you say, okay, what song is the best? Love songs, sad songs, happy songs. Yeah. Okay, some patriotic songs. I think this is what we are, grown up on. All of us. But I think there's much deeper music now, I think, where artists are getting into. If you look at ghazal singing, it's so deep. There's the classical singing. There is the hip hop music, I think. So we have kind of gone ahead and tried to go also create these. It's a tough job to focus on a large market like this and go in segments. But we haven't left any, left any stone unturned or let's say any genre unturned. We've gone out and tried to build it up. And I think, for example, we went and did something on Rap 91. Rap 91 is a flagship playlist for rap music or hip hop music. We've done physical events. And the feedback that we've got from the artists there is that nobody thought about holding such kind of things and creating a platform for us to come together. And they love that kind of event. And for anybody who loves music here or interested in hip-hop music, you should participate in that. And I think that's the kind of a localization that we've gone into.
Yeah, that's all wonderful. But if you look at the flip side of it, India is, according to the IFPI, which is the international organization that tracks recorded music revenues, we are number 14 in the world, which is not bad, number 14, but when it comes to per capita revenue, we're among the lowest in the world, of course. We have a huge population. And I remember you've said this multiple times to me that your biggest competition is piracy. So how are we progressing there? How are things changing? What do you think is going to help, you know?
Yeah, so I think if you look at you're talking about the IFPI number, India is 14th, I think, 14th or something. It's climbing, by the way. It's climbing. It's going
Hopefully
well.
this year, I mean, new reports will be out soon.
Yeah, so I think if you look at this, let's step back on this for a second. I think if you look at the size of the market of our country, I think, like it's 1.3 billion people, 600 million people on the internet. But I think we have music. Like I said, there are two good things in music. One is everybody, understands music in this country because we've grown up on that. Our history is full of great music. But not everybody listens to music as deeply. And even if they listen to it, I think it's not a general habit. I mean, how many people would you see walking around out there listening to music? If you go around anywhere in the world, people are always glued on to listening to music. So I think that habit building, nobody did that. That has to happen on its own. Today, I think we have a habit on phones. I think I can see a lot of people on their phones right now, which I think, everybody's looking at their phones. So I think that habit of looking at their phones,
hopefully
or
taking notes,
being on social media. Yeah, all those looking at the phone, we're going to ask some questions after this. So please be ready. We're going to point out some of you guys here. So if you look at that, I think you'll realize that people have they've been built. Habits have been built for them. Yeah. Whether it's a social media site who's built them for them. I mean, good habit or bad habit, I don't want to say anything, but habits have been built out there.
Yeah,
Who built the habit for listening?
Watched music. I mean, you can't
watch music,
like walk on the road and watch music, or some people do that. But like,
but even some of the habits are funny because people are on the driving. They have some of the apps open. They're not even watching it, but it's on.
Yeah.
So the habit of listening to music, I think it's something that we have been focusing on for the last 5 years, and it's a journey. I would say that I would not call it mission accomplished as yet because we're on that journey. But we're quite well in that journey because now we have a significant size of audiences in this country who are, I would say, the real music fans. They're coming to Spotify because they're finding that whole piece. And I believe people who are not listening to music enough, they're slowly, I think they're coming out there.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're coming out there transforming themselves.
1 trillion figure, I mean, it's amazing. But what about the piracy angle? I mean, in terms of like, where would you peg that? Has that gone down in the last 5 years?
Yeah, so these are all interlinked. So I think if you look, your question was around IFPI numbers. I think I'm telling you about the habit. One of the strong parts of habit is what was the previous habit? The previous habit was either that I'm trying to listen to music for free in a very lousy way, I would say that, because it would be pirating music or, like a drive or just load it on my phone or something like that. Or, I mean, I want to find some other ways to get a paid one for free or something. But the real habit is I subscribe for music. And for that, I need to have the value of music in my life that I need to value. We are priced at 119 per month in a monthly plan. Annual plan is about $1,100 something approximately. It's less than 100 rupees a month, for that plan.
Yeah.
How many of us don't even think about 100 rupees in our lives anymore? But when you ask people why they don't pay, sometimes they don't have a very clear reason because it's a habit which is of the past. We don't value music enough. If many of you go to events, I mean, please observe this when you go to an event and an artist is performing. How many of you stand and listen to that artist and, make that artist feel special? We don't do that. We are actually talking about, sitting out there, talking. The artist is performing. We don't even give the respect to the artist. So we talk about our culture, which is a great culture, but I think we don't live that culture. And that culture is what we need to kind of learn together. I mean, that we have to appreciate music the way music is. We have to appreciate the artist. We have to appreciate that this is a business for them. So I think that piece is what we are actually trying to bring to the and I think my feeling is that global ranking or something is a matter of time. This country is not going to be behind anything. If you look at our GDP now today, I mean, we're talking about every second day, somebody's talking about a GDP number. So everybody's talking about the economy. So I think same way, the time for the music industry is coming. Somebody's got to do the hard job. Yeah, but somebody's got to do the hard job. Yeah. And I think we are very happy that that job has been entrusted to us. And I'm really proud of my team because I think have to make a special mention here. You will never find a more passionate bunch of people who really want to get this music up. And I think that's what drives us every day to work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think that, like you said, in 5 years, you've become one of, if not the market leader, which is a great sort of, I mean, that's a short span of time. To do that is pretty incredible. At the same time, and I think you mentioned something like brand love is at an all-time high. At the same time, in keeping with the whole idea of getting people to value music, you all recently introduced restrictions on your free tier, which was the first time you ever did that in 5 years, and probably the first time you actually got some backlash from your customers, right? I mean, what was the reasoning behind that and taking that risk and, sort of like, you've got so high now to sort of, to have, obviously it was a considered decision, what went behind that and what has been the response?
No, so I think what I think for everybody here, I think who doesn't know, maybe I think Amit is talking about how we changed our free service, which was free on demand, when we launched there to now something which is, some features we kind of put it behind a paywall. And I think the purpose behind that is that I think we are building that habit for music. We are offering one of the best free products still. I think the culture of free was to that extent, it's still there, and we want it to happen. We want to offer, Spotify actually pioneered the free business 16 years back in the world and moved people from piracy to paid. I think the objective here is to get people to like free music and kind of then move to, paid music. That's the general trend, how this model operates. I think, and we always want to offer a great free service, and we want to offer, but we'll obviously keep calibrating because ultimately we are also running a business here. So we want to keep calibrating, between free and paid in such a way that we want to keep our free business growing, and we want to also keep our premium business growing. So I think at this moment we calibrated a bit, and I think the after effects of that has been that, there were some questions from people, but generally I think people are still loving the service. I think we haven't seen a great change in our numbers or so on. And we are continuing to keep testing. So we keep testing on these kind of things as we go along. Objective is that we are serving a large audience and we want to make sure that we have a good balance between both free and paid.
Yeah. And of course, anybody who may not know me, but I am a charts geek, so I can't not ask a charts related question to Amar. Listenership habits, as you were talking about, has really changed. It's gone from, film-centric to artist-centric. And we just look back at the number one songs of the last 5 years. In 2019, the number one song on Spotify for all the year was Señorita by Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes. In 2020, it was a Bollywood song, Shayad from Love Aajkal. In 2021, it was another Bollywood song, Rata Lambaya from Sher Shah. In 2022, it was Excuses by A.P. Dillon and Gurinder Gill and Intense, a Punjabi hip-hop song. And just last year, it was Maan Meri Jaan by King. So you're seeing a clear sort of shift, and I think it's a very interesting kind of reflection of how consumption trends have changed. When Spotify entered, most of your listeners were in metros, so it was primarily an English listening audience. Then you had a more, concentrated in you had Bollywood music, obviously the first thing that people gravitated to. And now you have like what they call non-film or commercial pop or Punjabi hip hop, for instance, really taking off. So I want to know, what are the ways that Spotify has maybe, or streaming in general, not just Spotify, audio streaming, how has it affected the music industry itself?
Streaming?
Yeah.
No, I think your facts on what are the top songs through the years is a very clear indication to how music is becoming more and more international to local and local to more artist first or new artists in fact also. And I think so there are 2-3 pieces out there. One is about Spotify first. I think for everybody, I think when we came in, Spotify, generally being a global platform, the first set of users who came in were all listening international music. So our skew of international music was very high, like even up to 70% or something compared to local music. And today it is the opposite. Today we are about 70-80% local music and 20-30% international music. And that is growing. So local is growing. In fact, we are, just for everybody's this thing, we are the number one site for Spotify around the world with the highest consumption of local music. So the thing is that, has it happened on its own? No. It was a conscious strategy to promote local music in India. In fact, we wanted to do all 22 languages, but I think it requires an effort. I think so. We focused on the top 4 or 5 languages. And
But the app is available in like 12 languages, right?
Content was available.
Yeah.
Content
Not
was
content,
available.
but like I can actually use the app in 12
You can use the app in all languages. I mean, see, normally people use English UI.
Yeah.
I mean, though you have 12 languages in which you can use
Yeah.
the UI also.
Yeah.
12 languages, and 22 languages we have content in. But when we curate deeply or work with artists, and we do a lot of work, deep work. That I think we focus on few languages to start off with. And we are extending ourselves to more and more languages. We started off with Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi. Then we added up Bhojpuri, Haryanvi, Marathi, Gujarati, Malayalam, and so on and
Yeah,
so
Malayalam is growing like
Malayalam
incredibly well.
Malayalam is growing like crazy.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, I think that's the shift happening in local music in a big way. The second shift parallelly which is happening is music from films. As you know, I mean, most of you must be knowing it's going down a bit. I think there used to be 10, 12 songs many years back. Now it is 3 to 4 songs. Out of that 3 to 4 songs, 2 of them are probably played after the movie, and some of them are remixes. So I know there's a paucity of music coming out from film music, so which has actually given us a great platform for platforms like us to help new artists succeed. I think, and new artists are coming up in a faster way. There used to be time when people used to take 10, 20 years to learn how to sing. Now people are learning in few years because things have changed a bit. So singers are coming, they are getting noticed fast, they are getting a followership very fast, and they're becoming successful fast. So I think that journey is something that I would not want to only attribute it to us because it's an industry which moves, but I think we've been a strong catalyst to the whole growth of that industry. So the big shift that we see ourselves happening is that this will continue, the trend will continue. I think we are a big believer, and I can probably share my deepest desires on what I want India to be. We want India IPOP, which is the India popular music, or Indies, independent pop music, to be one of the best in the world. And we just believe that the time has started now.
Yeah.
Because if you go back, I mean, how many of you, when I ask you maybe a few years back, what's the pop music, you will probably talk about Bollywood music. But now if you talk about singers like, look at the Punjabi singers in Punjabi music. They're all independent singers. Look at King. Look at this Anuj Jain or somebody.
Anuj Jain, number one right now.
Anuj Jain right now. They're all coming out of this thing, no Bollywood connections. They're just going out there, building that great song. So I think that phase, it is like, if you look at parallel, I think this is a digital summit. I think IMAI, I've been part of it for many years with IMAI. I think the way we talk about Indian ecosystem of startups, I think today I would say we are at the same stage where we're talking about the ecosystem of entrepreneurs, of people creating music. And that phase is going to go 10x to 100x in the next few years. The question is, I don't know how big. Only thing is, I know it's going to become big. And we want to be part of that team. It's not one person's job, it's everybody's job here in the industry to be basically driving that hard here.
Yeah, and we've got just about a minute left. So on that note, I wanted to ask you, 5 years, how do you see the next 5 years going for Spotify and the industry as a whole?
Like I said, I mean, the mission is very clear. The mission is that Indian artists should be not only the successful artists in India, they should be successful artists around the world. So our music should be breaking out around the world in a huge way. And today we are successful. I mean, it's not that Indian music doesn't break out. We do a lot of work with our global teams in US, Canada, UK, Australia, where a lot of Indian diasporas are there. And we even put artists on Times Squares on a regular basis for the last few years. But I'm not talking about that breaking out. I'm talking about breaking outside the diaspora. I mean, when you travel abroad and somebody walks up to you and says that, oh, I like this song about your country, and that person is not an Indian or Indian origin, that's the day we'll be very, very proud, because then we've taken the music completely out. And of course, the second part is that I think this industry, if it has to become big, we need to get people to pay for music. That's the second big piece. I think we are doing a lot of work around that piece out there. But the other side of it, there's also a huge opportunity in audio advertising, as a platform. And about 400 brands in the country have already experienced audio advertising on Spotify today. We believe we can build that over the next 5 years into a large place where if any brand wants to build their business, build their connection with Gen Zs and customers with music, they should come to us. And we want to be a great alternative to all the other platforms in the country today.
Yeah, amen to that. And like number 14 to last year, hopefully in 5 years, we'll be in the top 5.
I think so. We should be.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's aim for that.
For sure. Great. Thank you, everybody. And thanks so much, Amar.